Hello, Nav. How's it going?
Mm, Good, bro. Good. Doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. I was thinking of you today because
Oh,
we had a situation. Do you remember when we were in Vancouver that we left the keys in a car and we had to send the taxi? The car was where we were because we went on a boat and then we came back on the boat and your wife and your daughter they got off the boat and they took the bus and then so the car was where we were when we came back
yeah.
and the key was with them. So we
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
get the key to us and I had to get an Uber. I sent an Uber and I was talking to them. And the way you do it when you do an Uber for somebody else, you have to give him a PIN number and then you will talk
Yeah.
to her on the phone. The guy's going to come. His car is this color. Get in the car. We already paid. It was, if you remember, we had quite a laugh about that. It was a quite an
Yes, yeah.
experience. So
Yeah.
today, I had to get some putties for some floor work that's being done. The guy who came to do the work didn't have enough putty, and he didn't have a car to go get some. So I
Oh,
arranged for Uber. Asked the people to have it ready, and then I called the Uber or to send on my app, send the Uber to go pick it up. So just telling the long story short, that I thought about you, about our experience, and had quite a bit of a laugh about it. But it made me think, and I knew we were going to talk today. I thought might be a good topic today is to talk about taxis because now you drive an Uber in Vancouver, and you used to drive a taxi. You were a cabbie in Plymouth, England. So, and we've touched on this a couple of times. How you went and trained last week, I think, talked about going and training drivers in Prague. But
yeah.
that's where you work. So I thought maybe I'll just make this an interview, me interviewing you about your taxi
Hey.
experiences and what you did in Plymouth and how does it, maybe you start by saying like what are the major differences that exist now with those days you using a cab and what you do Uber now.
So actually, honestly, it's really interesting. I'm so lucky that I have experienced both sides. I've experienced being a taxi driver in the old traditional way and now with Uber. So here's the thing. With back in the day, not just in England, I think anywhere in the world, if you wanted to be a taxi driver, you had to take a full knowledge test, like knowledge test of the city. You really needed to know, not every single side road, but you needed to know the main arterial roads. You needed to know the areas. You had to know, and you if you didn't know the basic um, a geography of your city, there's no way you were passing the test. It was like 50 questions, multiple choice. And here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know. Like they would ask you, like for example, there'd be 5 or 6 questions, and it would literally say, pick up spot A, drop off B, and you would have to write out, like actually handwrite
Wow.
your route from A to B. So you would literally be like, so, and not even just like pick up at A, you would be like, pick up on Lara Road on left side, go down South Lara Road, turn right onto Muttley Plain.
Basically
Uh,
write the GPS direction
you,
but by
yeah,
hand.
you literally had to write your route down. So that was one part. That was phase one. And then the second part was the actual driving test. So examiner would sit in the car. Now that again, that was exactly the same. He would sit in the car. He'd say the test starts now, and he would say, "Okay, take me to Derriford Hospital." And that's it. That's all he would say. And then you would drive whatever you felt was the best route to Derriford Hospital. And then from there, he would be like, okay, thank you. Now take me to, Rusty's Pub in Lipson. So, and that would happen five. You would do 5 trips with the examiner. And then once you passed, you obviously were given your license. So now,
Which part
fast
of
forward.
did you have to do in Plymouth? Which part of did you have to do all of this in Plymouth to get your
Oh, oh,
license?
I did all of it. You had to do all of
Oh,
it. In,
there was
yeah.
no GPS when you were doing taxi at the time. There was no GPS.
No, 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 no,
Wow.
no, no, no. And here's the big difference. So when I was taxiing, got my license, so the company that I was working for would install a radio into your car, like a,
Right. Yeah,
radio,
yeah, yeah.
like walkie-talkie radio. And that's how the jobs came to you. You were assigned a call sign, and I still remember to this day, my call sign was Delta 126. That was my call sign. So you would always have to keep you'd have to keep the volume of your radio at a good level so you could hear that, because that was the only way the dispatcher would talk to you. So you'd hear Delta 126, and then I'd be like, yeah, come in, Delta 126. Obviously, if you know the dispatcher's name, you would use your first term names. And then he'd be like, okay, I got a pickup for you, Ridgeway in, so and so shop, picking up Peter. Okay, got it, Roger that. And then you would go pick your customer up. And they would obviously, back then, you had a meter. They would install a digital meter in your car too. So turn the meter on and then drop the customer off. When you were a minute away from dropping off, you would get on the radio. Control, this is Delta 126. I'm 1 minute from drop off. That way, dispatcher knew you were ready for any potential next job in where you're dropping off.
Yeah. So the other thing, I just as you were just talking, I thought about the job of the dispatcher was quite a sophisticated one as well, because he or she needed to know where everybody is and where to send the job. We take it for granted now. Everybody, Uber, in the algorithms or whatever it is, they all works all of that out. But there was a human being had to do this job, so that job is no longer exist, obviously.
So that's why now that I'm thinking, now that I'm doing Uber, I'm like, realistically, a human being, there's no way one human being could do what Uber's algorithm does right now.
Sure, sure.
It's just no way. Because then, yes, I mean, to be fair, I did have a very small exposure to being a dispatcher, because I did shadow a dispatcher and watch. And yes, there's a screen as the jobs come in. He just has to know, the dispatcher has to know where each car is to be able to allocate that job to the right driver. And
Well,
of
so
course,
did
that
they have was it like when they put the meter in your car, did they have a tracker? So did you have a screen, electronic screen to know where every car is?
initially no, because the meter was just counting kilometers. That's really all it was doing, time and kilometers.
But later on
But
they added it.
later on, they you still had the walkie-talkie radio, but then later on they put a little computer in your car. That's when the jobs became digital. So jobs would come to you on a machine. So
Oh, so
that's
there
when
was a
they
time that you at the time that you were working, did you actually work at the time that it was digital?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
you've seen it both there. You saw basically the Stone Ages kind of taxi driving,
Yes,
and then
yeah,
the
yeah,
transition, and now you're doing the ultimate, yeah.
yeah. So, and here's the other thing. Uh, in the old days, drivers, when you worked for a company, your royalties or whatever you paid the company, it was a Monday morning thing. Every Monday morning, you went and paid. I don't even remember how much weekly I paid. And everything was cash. Everything was cash. No credit card. You didn't take credit card. It was
Wow.
all cash. So you would go Monday morning and you would go to the office, you would pay your fixed
Hmm.
amount, they give you a
And that
receipt.
fixed amount was the same no matter how many hours you worked, whether you worked.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
correct. The amount was fixed. And then, so what a lot of drivers would do, including me, you'd then step into the office where all the telephone operators are and where the dispatcher is, and you'd go say hi to the dispatcher and slip him £20.
No way. You actually
Yeah,
did. Oh.
yeah. You would go, you'd slip him £20. That way, he or she would look after the ones that would line his hand.
But if everybody gave her 20 quid, then what, how would she manage that?
Well, bro, here's the thing. I can tell you that probably only 1% did that.
Oh. Yeah, because
I
20
can
pounds was a lot of money those days. I mean,
what I don't know. I'm using £20 as a
oh,
number,
okay, okay.
but it was definitely like £10, £5 or £10, and I made sure. And and here's the big difference between an algorithm dispatching you work and a human, because there in the old system, human building that relationship was key. Building that relationship with the dispatcher was your key to a better week. 100%.
But now it's
You
agnostic. The algorithm is agnostic to the relationship. There's no relationship needed.
There's no, and so you asked me what's the big difference. So the big difference is the human. It's the human touch. That's the big difference. Before you go to the office, you pay and it was all cash. So you pay your money. So you talk to people, you talk to the dispatcher, you'd have an opportunity to talk to the telephone operators. There was on the radio when the jobs came to you, it was all human interaction. So that for me is the biggest difference.
Yeah,
I
but I
can
mean,
go,
go ahead.
I can go, I, there's never a time where I will talk to somebody in Uber.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the human relationship is the one, but the efficiency that has been gained. I mean, this is where you were talking about the AI stuff a couple of weeks ago. The efficiency that there is there, it's like it made that human work obsolete. So like you would never go back to the old days of dispatcher and all of that stuff. This the way it works right now because it's all about efficiency, and it's not efficient just for the driver, but also for the customers. It is fantastic. I love Uber. Doesn't matter where in the world I go, or everywhere I have traveled. Anyway, I'm sure there are places they don't have Uber, but everywhere I have traveled, they have Uber, and I just absolutely love it because the same app works everywhere else. So that is really, really fantastic. But I wanted, before we get too far away from this our time, I would really wanted to get some stories that if you have any stories you remember from your cab days, like any interesting story that you want to share. From
So not so this one that I'll share with you is this is an example of why you should, the expression, never judge a book by a cover. So I was sent to a job. And of course, just like any driver, as you approach the pickup point and you see the customer, you, without, whether you like it or not, you start making prejudgments of that person based on looks and whatever. So I get a call for a pickup, and the guy is head to toe in tattoos. He's got piercings in every possible position in his body. He's big beard, and just like the like to me it was shouting out, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have trouble with this guy." And so I'm like, okay, whatever. And he gets in the car, we start talking, and oh my God, he's a professor at the university. He's like all his life it's always been about education and teaching people, and the guy was, you could just tell, like just full of information, full of great conversation. Like it was a fantastic trip. And when I dropped him off, I actually, like, we built up such a connection in that short 20-minute ride that I actually shared with him. I said, "Yeah, I tell you, I had some concerns picking you up after just taking one look at you." And he said, "Oh, don't worry, you won't be the first, and you won't be the last to do that." So that really, it's funny how you learn some stuff as you do this. And then the one that I had recently was really funny. So I picked up two people, and we had another pickup on the way. And as we're approaching the second pickup, the guy who ordered the Uber was like, "Oh no, I've made a mistake." I was like, "Oh, what happened?" And he's like, "Oh, there's two of us, but the people we're picking up at the next stop is three people."
Oh no.
But but obviously I can only carry four
Sure,
passengers because it's Uber X,
sure,
right?
sure, sure.
And he was just, and then so he was like, "Okay, we'll pick up two of them, go to the next stop, and then I'll end the trip there." And the whole way I was teasing him like crazy, saying, "Oh, he really clearly, when he was calculating the numbers in his head, he was counting himself as the driver."
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
So
I can see how that happens. Yeah.
I was just I was making fun of him the whole way. I was like, "Are you sure? Do you need to recount again? Are you sure you got it right?"
Hey,
So
Nav,
that was
we're running out of time. I wanted to make sure that you do share because I know that you used to be, you were called Nav the cabbie and you had a radio spot. Just say a couple of words
oh
about that radio spot.
yeah, that was like something just weird that happened. I picked up a producer from a radio show. He really enjoyed his journey with me, and he was like, "Oh, did you think you can spare 20 minutes of your time once a week and come live and talk on a show, on a breakfast show, a morning breakfast show?" So yeah, I had a weekly slot with a on BBC Radio Devon with a phenomenal radio presenter called Gordon Sparks. And so I would every Thursday for 20 minutes, I would go on the show and I would just talk about who I've had in the car, what I've seen around the city, because that's the thing. Back then, the taxi drivers was all about the city and what's happening in the city. You know, what construction's happening, what's hot and topic, what's the hot topic in the city. And so yeah, I did that for several weeks. I did that for several weeks, and actually it was really fun. And I do remember dragging you along to one of the.
You did. That's the once and only one and only time that I've ever been on a radio show. And what I remember from it, two things I remember. The first one was that Gordon was quite knowledgeable about American football. So he was
Oh
actually talking
yeah,
about the teams, and he was asking me about it, and I was telling him. So that's what I remember, because a lot of Brits don't really know much about American football, or are not
yeah,
interested because they're all about regular football or
yeah.
soccer. And the other thing was when we came afterwards and we listened on the radio, I was shocked about how fast I was talking. I didn't re I don't know, maybe people who are listening to me now, they think I'm talking fast, but I didn't realize how fast I was until I listened to it. I thought, oh my goodness, that's really embarrassing. But anyways, so you allowed me to be on the radio show once, and the only one time that I've been on a radio show. So.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun time. That was fun
It was
time for
good. Yeah,
sure.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was very good. Well, time flies when you're having fun. Look at this. It's already been almost 20 minutes, I think, maybe 18 minutes. So
Fantastic.
it was good call, good talk. I'm really looking forward to coming to Vancouver in August. So looking forward to maybe doing a session together. Maybe we can do something fun. Think about, maybe we can go to a restaurant or something, or
Yeah,
we'll do a fun show.
but sounds good. That sounds really good. I'm super excited for that too.
All right. Take care, man.
Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye bye.